To my truckers out there, 2026 CVSA Roadcheck is officially over, and some of the violations that inspectors found are pretty insane. We're talking so many trucks placed completely out of service, dangerous brake issues, cargo securement disasters, ELD problems, and violations that honestly should have never been on the road in the first place. So in today's video, I'm going to show and just talk about and break down some of the violations that inspectors found during CVSA 2026 Roadcheck, some of the biggest mistakes that drivers made, what surprised us inspectors the most, and what drivers need to learn from all of this moving forward. If you're ready for all that, hit that hype button, like, and subscribe to the channel, join the community. Alright, so all of this isn't gossip and it's not rumors. I'm using real road check information, real inspection trends, real photos, real stats, and actual issues that are being found across the country. And let me give you one of the biggest takeaways right now before we fully get into this. A huge percentage of the trucks that were getting put out of service had issues that, let's just say, could have been found during a decent pre-trip inspection. Now, I'm not talking about some super thorough 20 to 30 minute pre-trip inspection, but if someone did a couple minutes of a decent pre-trip inspection, a lot of these violations could have been found beforehand. And I know drivers don't always like hearing that, but it is true. Now, the final official nationwide road check numbers are still all being calculated and collected, but early road check data is already starting to show up. So there were over 6,400 DOT inspections within the first 1 to 2 days of 2026 Roadcheck. There were over 2,000 out of service orders during that same time period, and over 1,100 violations documented during that time period. And honestly, that's a lot of violations for such a short period of time. Again, these aren't the numbers for the full CVSA Roadcheck. These are just what are turned in so far and everything that is already verified, for lack of a better term. And this is why drivers pay attention to Roadcheck every single year. Well, they either pay attention or they take that whole week off. But it's because Roadcheck exposes what's really happening out there on the road. And I know, people are down in the comments right now. You guys don't really stop bad violations. You guys just collect revenue. But you know how we do on this channel. We put all the emotions aside. I'm a fact-based person, so I drop facts on you all to help teach. Roadcheck exposes what companies are massively neglecting, what drivers are ignoring, what inspectors are seeing constantly, and honestly, some of the stuff found during Roadcheck every year is genuinely crazy. So now let's talk about one of the biggest categories that just shows up every single year. Brakes. Yeah, let's talk about some brakes. Brake violations remain one of the top reasons that trucks get placed out of service during CVSA Roadcheck. And even though we're really focused on ELDs and load securement this year, again, brakes always show up and it steals the show. And we're not talking about like tiny brake issues either. We're talking about big brake violations. Massive air leaks, way out of adjustment brakes. I'm talking like I had a guy hit his brake and that thing stroked out the most I'd ever seen, over 3.5 inches, possibly even 4 if that's possible. Like, craziness. We're talking things like damaged hoses, majorly cracked components, and just brake systems that are generally unsafe. Some brakes out here aren't even attached to the truck and trailer. This is where I hear that trucking gets frustrating sometimes, because some of these violations are not hidden problems. Some trucks are rolling around with obvious issues, but drivers have been complaining to me that they have been telling their company about so many of these issues, and their company is either refusing to fix it, or they don't believe them, or they keep pushing the maintenance off. Let me know down in the comments if you've ever worked for a company where you tell them something's broken and they're not helping you out, they're not fixing it, they're not responding. Let us know. Let's have a discussion about that. Because on a weekly basis, not even just during road check, I'm seeing trucks rolling around with major air leaks, warning signs, dragging problems, and braking problems drivers already knew about, but they keep telling the company, like we just said, and the company's not doing anything about it. Now, some of the photos coming out during road check were absolutely wild. I'm going to be tossing some up on the screen here, and we're going to be chatting about them a little bit. So you had things like severely damaged tires, and it's what I'm going to put up on the screen right here. Crazy story about this one is that this guy actually pulled into the weigh station. It was raining a decent amount, and as he was driving off, the inspectors and I noticed that his last axle on his trailer was straight up dragging, like it was still locked, like he forgot to release it, and he ended up driving out. I followed him, I caught up to him on the interstate, and I'm telling him, hey, your last axle, it's all, you know, locked up. And he jumps out of the truck. He remembered right away that he didn't unlock it, freaked out, and his tires that were in decent condition were now horrible, and then he needed to purchase 4 new tires at $800 a piece. So I felt for him there. Like, if you look at this thing, it's not just a little flat spot. You can't see it well from the pictures, but it was grinded down. I mean, massive flat spot down to where you could see, you know, the cords, the metal on a lot of the parts of the tire. So he had to get new tires. This next picture up on the screen is just of loose wheel fasteners. So just a quick tip, when you're doing your pre-trip, don't grab onto the actual nut on there. Grab that fastener behind and see if it spins, because the nut can be tight or cross tread on there and that fastener is going to be spinning. It's not properly bolted on. So make sure you check that. This truck ended up being placed out of service because he had several of those on several different wheels. Again, they were just spinning, even though the nut was safe. He said he checked all of his nuts there, but yeah, didn't check the fasteners. So make sure you check in those fasteners. You don't want to get caught off guard. The next thing I do want to talk about, it goes along with brakes. Again, still more violation pictures. So right up here, I'm going to put up a picture of some brakes that were cracked all the way through. His pads linings were cracked. Several of them on several different wheel sets were cracked just like this. And it had been like that for months, and the guy said they don't really do brake maintenance. Once they fix it once, they may check the brakes again once a year, maybe every 2 years they may really check the brakes. And because this vehicle and trailer sits a lot of times, they're not really up on doing inspections all the time. The scary part is that the truck and trailer itself looked pretty clean. This wasn't some beat up truck and trailer combination, but just the brakes, they didn't do maintenance on there, and they ended up looking this terrible. So make sure you're keeping up on your brake maintenance, checking your brakes as well. During your pre-trip, I know it's hard, right? We're not going to be underneath our trucks with a creeper during our pre-trips. I do know some drivers that are like that and will do that, but for the most part, drivers aren't doing that. So some of these violations can be hard to catch, especially if it's dark outside. But whenever you get a chance, if you can look at your truck and trailer fully, that's a very good thing to do. As a matter of fact, let us know down in the comments if you own a creeper or if you've ever gotten underneath your truck to do any sort of check, whether it's for a pre-trip or just to make sure everything's looking good. I want to know who's actually doing things like that. I figured I'd toss this overweight in here as well. This log truck was very overweight. And then up here, we got tires again. Tires were extremely bald. I mean, these things were racing slicks on a trailer, which is pretty crazy. Not safe at all. So again, tire is one of the easiest things that you can really check for condition and tread depth and so forth. And then this is a bonus picture, okay? This is not from us. This is from, I believe, Iowa posted this. Absolutely crazy. I mean, you have things hanging off there. The brakes aren't even really connected. Hoses are just hanging. It looks like everything is just dragging, not working at all. Even the suspension bags on this trailer, it's crying for help. I don't know why this was on the road. Obviously, it's not right. You think this person did a pre-trip or what? So I genuinely do want to ask you this. Have you ever seen a truck on the road where your immediate thought was, there's no way that truck should be operating right now, or there's no way that this truck is legal? Because I know that drivers gotta be seeing this stuff constantly. Y'all are on the road sometimes more than us and at the better hours than we are. So let me know in the comments if you've ever had that, or let me know what's the worst violation you've ever seen on the road as a driver. Just like in some of those violation pictures I just showed you, another massive section I want to talk about, tires. Drivers underestimate this way too much. There can always be things like exposed cords, bad tread depth, bald tires, and a big one is underinflation. So a tire doesn't have to be actually flat 0 psi to be placed out of service. If you are grossly underinflated, you can also be placed out of service because that tire is deemed ineffective. And this is generally something that a lot of inspectors notice fast, especially if you have the smart roadside systems that tells you if a truck has a flat or has underinflated tires. And if you're wondering, well, why do these things matter for trucks and not as much for, passenger vehicles? Because I hear this all the time.
Why do you guys do truck inspections? How about you go inspect passenger cars?
That's not our job. We do federal inspections for commercial motor vehicles, right? And it's mainly a weight thing, a weight and commerce thing. When a commercial vehicle has a catastrophic failure, that can become a massive public safety issue. That's why inspectors focus so heavily on things like brakes, tires, steering, cargo securement. Speaking of cargo securement, we literally had a crash last week. No, it wasn't CVSA Roadcheck, but it was just last week where a truck rolled over and they were using these straps. These are some fake Temu, Walmart, Harbor Freight type straps. And it said it's rated for 11,000 pounds. When tested, it was actually 3,000 pounds. So it was just fake straps. Don't use fake straps. This truck rolled over, and just from rolling over, all of those straps popped. All of them. They had a bunch of them. And there's an issue when the driver's like, oh yeah, these are the new mega super powerful straps. And the strap literally says on it, mega super powerful straps. Yeah. Probably not right. And like we said before, cargo securement was a big part of CVSA Roadcheck this year. So I thought I'd throw that in there. So many drivers out there still don't take cargo securement seriously enough. Between loose cargo, improper tie downs, bad securement practices, those things can become deadly fast, and I have seen this. Oh, and wait until you hear some of the driver related violations that we found during the CVSA Roadcheck. Because remember, Roadcheck is not only about the truck, it's about the driver as well. Drivers themselves were getting hit for things like ELD issues, hours of service violations, paperwork problem, medcard problems, logbook violations. And ELD tampering was actually one of the main focuses this year. One of the out of service violations that I had having to do with the driver was just a simple medcard violation where the guy thought his med card was still valid, but it had expired 2 years ago, but he said he didn't know it was expired, so he gave me his med card, and I'm like, bro, this is expired. And he genuinely looked shocked, surprised. He was a hotshot driver, not in a semi-truck, but he was a hotshot driver, and he really was like, dude, I thought my med card was good, and whatever the case may be, I guess not. And boom, he's placed out of service. This guy was from Florida, so he was a long way from home. So I talk about all those driver violations just to say this. The trucking industry is becoming more digital, more tracked, more data focused, more enforcement focused. And whether drivers like it or not, that's just the way things are moving. There are so many bad actors, not just in the world, but in trucking right now that are really making it bad for everyone else who's doing a great job and just trying to make an honest living. Another big thing Roadcheck stats show that it exposed this year are just bad companies. Because let's be honest, sometimes drivers know something's wrong with the truck, but the company keeps pushing them anyways, just like we talked about before. And drivers watching this already know exactly what I'm talking about. You report a problem, maintenance delays it, the truck keeps rolling, and eventually Roadcheck or a DOT inspection exposes everything. Now obviously, not every violation on a truck means that a driver is out here being reckless and they're a horrible driver. We all know things happen, and sometimes it's out of the driver's control. But some violations found during DOT inspections and during Roadcheck this year were clearly long-term neglected issues. And just for context, previous Roadcheck data showed over 56,000 inspections completed, more than 13,000 out-of-service violations, and over 3,000 driver out-of-service violations. And the biggest categories stayed pretty consistent: brakes, tires, lighting, cargo securement, and driver compliance. One thing I will say that really surprises us inspectors every single year is just how many of these violations are super basic things. Like a guy rolled in with his brake lights not working, right? Immediate, out of service, something that simple, but it's a very big safety issue. People have things like lights, small air leaks, and just obvious defects on the truck that puts them out of service or makes them rack up violation. Things that drivers could catch during a decent pre-trip inspection as well. Now, honestly, this is why I always preach pre-trips. No, I'm not wearing my pre-trip shirt today, but I am wearing my favorite sailboat fuel shirt. But you still need to be doing your pre-trips. Not fake pre-trips, real pre-trips. Not to kick one tire, glance back, look at the truck, walk around it while scrolling TikTok and be like, it looks good to me. But a real pre-trip. Just a quick checklist you can run through in your head, right? Check your brake hoses, your air lines, tire condition, lights, listen for leaks, load securement, reflective tape, steering and suspension components. Make sure you include those things in your pre-trip, because a 5-minute shortcut can become a massive problem later on. That's one of the main reasons why I love making these compliance-based videos as well. I know a lot of times it's trucking news and just industry stuff and FMCSA updates, but these DOT compliance videos, a lot of drivers tell me that they really resonate because it's not like reading regulations in a book. They get to see real time. They get to see actual pictures and hear stories from things that we're actually seeing out on the road. And that really melts it into their brain more what they should be doing or how to just make their jobs easier. These videos also help to show why we do certain things of why we do. Like, I know the trucking community, they've always been split down the middle about CVSA Roadcheck. A lot of people say, oh, it's just to grab revenue and it doesn't really help any safety. And other people say, well, obviously I see the stats and I know that it helps take unsafe trucks off the road. And I understand why, opinions may be split. But at the same time, when inspectors find catastrophic brake issues, dangerous cargo securement, and horrible tire problems, it's really hard to argue that those trucks should stay on the road and that there's no point in inspections and so forth. All in all, the biggest lesson about 2026 CVSA Roadcheck is that a lot of violations are preventable. Do a proper pre-trip, because that's the frustrating part. Every single year, so many trucks rack up violations that get put out of service over simple violations, so don't let it be you. If this video resonated with you, if it helped you, taught you something, brought you any value at all, go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button, join the community here. It really helps the channel, right? That one click to the subscribe helps the channel grow. It gets pushed out to so many more truckers out there that want to stay squared away just like you. So if you don't want to miss out on more DOT news, trucking news, we got FMCSA updates, updates, industry talk, anything trucking really is all on this channel. So if you want to help this rapidly growing community, subscribe so you don't miss out on any fun. Roadcheck may be over, but the lessons learned from it definitely are not. Until next video, stay safe, keep rolling.